Hi there, welcome to a series of videos called English for Emerson. In our last lesson, we had the question at a restaurant from the waiter, can I bring you anything to drink? I'm going to put it right up here. In this lesson, I'm going to give you a great big lecture on advertising, and then we'll order our drinks. Here we go. What is advertising? I'm going to write it right up here. Advertising. Advertising is making ads, making commercials to try to get people to buy your product. Getting people to buy your product. Well, why would you do that? Well, because you want to make money. So let's say, for example, that I decide that I want to sell shoes. Well, how would people know about my shoes to buy them? I have to advertise somehow. I have to put up a sign. Ross's Shoes. Ross's Shoe Store. Ross's Excellent Footwear. Something like this. I have to advertise so people will know about my product. Well, around about the time that TV came out, this was a little, maybe 80 years ago, maybe 70 years ago, as TV started to become popular. They started doing this thing where they would advertise on the TV every 15 minutes. If you were watching the television, you could count on it. Every 15 minutes, there would be advertisements. What were they advertising? Well, things that people wanted to sell. And you know the interesting thing about advertisements? Here's what I'm going to say right now about this, and then I'm going to try to be quiet about it. Advertisements that are just relentless. They're usually trying to get you to buy something that isn't worth anything so that they can make a lot of money. For example, drinks. Now, there's some popular different kinds of drinks like Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Dr. Pepper, Mountain Dew. I'll put some of them up here. These drinks have nothing in them that's of any value. But they advertise them very heavily. Meaning they put up all kinds of commercials. They put it on TV. They put it on radio. They put it on billboards. Billboards are big signs next to the freeway. They put it in soccer stadiums, football stadiums, baseball stadiums, basketball stadiums. They put it on the sides of trucks. They put these advertisements everywhere. And people see it and see it and see it and see it and see it. And eventually, the theory is that by the power of suggestion, people will go out and buy this worthless stuff. Because they've been, essentially, it's been so many advertisements that they just finally give up and they go out and buy it. Another example about this, and then I'm going to be done soon, don't worry, is breakfast cereals. In America, we have these things called a breakfast cereal. It's this worthless stuff that comes in a box. And it's chips made out of corn or rice or oats or wheat that are covered in sugar and some food coloring. Maybe some marshmallows get thrown in there. And it comes with a cartoon character on the box. It's absolutely horrible stuff to eat. Most of it. And you put milk on it and you eat it, and oh, there's the ice machine coming on here. You're going to hear it make ice. It's horrible stuff to eat. And they advertise the heck out of it on TV when kids are watching TV. Eventually the kids say, that looks like so much fun. These cartoon characters are eating this cereal. There he's making ice. Sorry. The cartoon characters are having so much fun, they're eating that cereal, singing songs and everything, and the kids would want it. And the parents, naturally not wanting to disappoint their children, would go buy it. Well, it's terrible stuff. It has no value. What's in the box is worthless. It's all about the feeling that you get from watching the advertisements. I hope it makes sense. Companies, after the beginning of television, and once people got cars and they could easily go to the store, Someone figured out that if they put advertisements on television for worthless stuff, but they made kind of a happy, kind of catchy advertisement, people would get in their cars and they would go to the store and they would buy the product. It's transformed life on planet Earth. For thousands and thousands of years, you couldn't just get in your car and go to the store and buy anything you want. And you didn't have TV to tell you, to have people telling you what to go buy. You just would go buy what you wanted. Things have changed dramatically. What I'm trying to say is a lot of these products have no value, and they're actually, a lot of them are bad for you. But people have been suggested by the advertisements to go buy this stuff. And drinks are one of those things that's heavily, heavily, heavily advertised. And they're terrible for you. Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Mountain Dew, Dr. Pepper, all that stuff. Terrible for your body. Terrible for your health. But they're so heavily advertised that people will go to the store and buy it. You know, I saw the strangest thing the other day, and then I'm going to get to the lesson. I swear, I'm going to do it. But these things just happen. I was out working yesterday, and sometimes I do this thing where I shop for people and deliver their food for money. I'm a shopper sometimes. And I went on a shopping trip for somebody, and you don't find out what you're going to buy for the person until you get to the store. And once I got there, I saw the list. And here was the list. I was amazed. I was absolutely amazed. Think about this. I really want you to think about this. On the list was 12 cans of Coca-Cola. That's one of these drinks that's not very good for you. It's full of sugar and caffeine, and it's just terrible stuff, and acid. The other thing on the list was chocolate candies. And then imagine the next thing on the list was pills, medicine for the stomach. I mean, Coca-Cola drink is very, very acidic, and it's very upsetting to the stomach if you drink a lot of it. And candy full of sugar and chocolate, you eat too much candy, you're going to get sick. And so this order was for Coca-Cola, cans of Coca-Cola, 12 of them, a big bag of chocolate candy, and pills, little medicines for the stomach to make it feel better. People. Oh, sometimes I don't know what to say. You know, this is like walking out on the edge of a branch on a tree with an axe and cutting off the branch where it attaches to the trunk of the tree. Eventually it's going to snap. It's not good. And these products, the chocolate candies and the were M&Ms. It's a heavily advertised candy. Lots of advertisements for M&Ms. I might put it up here on the screen, the advertisements for M&Ms. And then Coca-Cola, very heavily advertised. They make people sick if you eat enough of it. And then the person was getting stomach medicine. If someone's advertising something a lot, if it's got a lot of advertisements for something, you have to think about it. Why would they be putting all those advertisements up? Because they're trying to get you to buy something that probably isn't worth very much. Otherwise, people would just go out and buy it anyway if they really needed it. You got to be careful about those advertisements. They'll get you to do stuff that you have no reason to go do. It's a strange world we live in sometimes. Here we go. We're going to order drinks. You need to have a pen. You need to have paper with lines on it. And we're going to start at the top with the letter I. Straight line down. That's pretty straight. And then a bar at the top and a bar at the bottom. Now, I'll is the first word because we're going to say I'll have something. I'll have a drink. You would start with I will, but people usually don't say that. They usually shorten it to I'll. So we kick out the W-I in the will and we with an apostrophe. I'll put up I will here to see what you see what I'm talking about. We kick out the W-I and we put in I apostrophe L-L. Do you see that there? I'll. We kick out the W-I in will. Boom! We get him out of there. And we have I'll. I'll have. Have starts with an H. Have. You hear the H? Have. Next letter is A. Starts like a lowercase c. Then we put our line down. Have. You hear the V? I do. Have. I hear the V. Have. Now you'd think that that would be the end of the word have right there, but believe it or not, there's a silent E. I don't know why it's there, because it doesn't make any sense. The A doesn't sound like itself, it sounds like an ass. So I don't know why have has a silent E, but it's there. I'll have a I'll have a, not a very good A. Now I'm going to have a glass of water. I'll have a glass of water, but you may have something else. So this is where we have to stop for a second. There's a few different ways to skin a cat, as the saying goes in English. I'll have a glass of water. But if you were going to have a cup of tea, you wouldn't have it in a glass if it was hot, because a glass will break. A cup is used. You have a cup around here? Right here. Here's a cup. This is a cup. Where's a glass? Doggone it. Where's my glasses? They're behind this board. Oh, there it is. Yeah, this is a glass. That's made out of glass. This is a cup. A cup is usually for hot stuff like tea and coffee. This is for things like water or juice. Do you follow me? Well, I'm going to have a glass of water. If you're going to have a cup of tea, then you use C-U-P, cup. I'll put it up here, cup of tea. I'm going to have a glass. Now, the other thing is, there's a start to the letter G for glass. Glass starts with a G, but stop here just for a second. If you're going to have a milkshake, that's kind of a weird thing because you don't say, I'll have a glass of milkshake. You don't say that. If you're going to have a milkshake, you just put down, I'll have a milkshake. I'll put milkshake up here. You don't say, I'll have a glass of milkshake. You just say, I'll have a milkshake. So you got to think about what you're going to use. Are you going to say, I'll have a milkshake, I'll have a cup of tea, or I'll have a glass of juice or water? Okay? I'm going to have a glass of water. G-L is gl. Glass. Do you hear the S's? Glass. It ends with two S's for some reason. I don't know why. A lot of times, words that end with a S have two S's. Not all the time, but a lot of times they do. That's a nice S right there. S is a hard letter to write. I'll have a glass of, starts with an O. Now you'd think, that of, if you listen to it, would have a V in it at the end, but it doesn't. It's the strangest word, I think, in English. Of. Can you believe it? The second letter on of is not a V, it's an F. Makes no sense. Makes absolutely no sense. It should be a V. I don't know why they did it that way. I'll have a glass of water. W. A. Watt. Water. Watt. I hear the T. Now, if you're having a milkshake, you don't even have to write up. You just put down, I'll have a milkshake, and that's it. Water. Nice. E. You don't really hear the E, but it's there. Water is, the is an ER at the end. Water. And then a period. There we go. Now, you might want juice. So I've kind of fallen behind here. I'm going to put it up here. I'm going to put up orange juice. I'm going to put up apple juice. You've got milkshake. So if you want a glass of milk, you just leave off the shake. You just have, I'll have a glass of milk. I can't think of, there's only one other thing I can think of that you would have, and that would be one of those bad drinks that's heavily advertised. I'm going to put it up here too. They've got Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Dr. Pepper, Mountain Dew. That's enough. 4 of those bad drinks. They're heavily advertised. You'll see advertisements for these things everywhere, especially in America. Oh my, well, that's just not true. It's everywhere. I mean, it's incredible, the advertisements. They're trying to get you to buy things that are bad for you and that are worthless. You know, I've talked about this already too much, but I want you to understand what I'm saying for a second. This is so important in life, I think. Think about it. How much money it costs them to make all those advertisements and put them up on TV and put them up in stadiums and put them on the sides of trucks. It costs millions of dollars. And then they take the stuff and they put it in the bottle, and then they package it in boxes and whatever, and then they take it to the store and put it on the shelf, and then people buy it. And they make a tremendous amount of money. Well, how do they do that? How do they make so much money? Because they had to pay for all those millions of dollars to make advertisements, and they had to make the product. Well, the thing is that what's inside the bottle is worthless. It only costs a couple of cents, but they sell it for a lot of money. So they make a tremendous amount of profit on one of those cans or bottles of the soda. The same thing goes for the breakfast cereals that have the cartoon characters on them. The stuff that's inside the box is only costs a few pennies. Very, very inexpensive. But they charge, if you go to the store and look at what they charge for a box of this cereal with all the cartoon characters on it, it's very expensive. They make a lot of money on each box. So, they can pay to have all those advertisements and all the cartoon characters singing songs. Because they're going to make so much money. Because what's inside the box is worthless. Do you understand this? This is called the economics of it. A lot of products that are heavily advertised are what's inside them is in the box or inside the bottle is worthless. But because of advertising, they're able to sell it for a lot of money because people want what they see on the television. It goes in their eyes, it goes in their ears, and they think in their mind, I want that. That's advertising. So what did you decide to order for your drink at the restaurant? I'll have a glass of water. What are you going to have? You decide. And now that's the end of this lesson on English for Emerson. We got writing, conversation, and we got a great big lecture about advertising. Oh my goodness. You get it all here on this channel. We'll see you next time on English for Emerson. We'll spend a little more time in the restaurant making our order. Okay. See you next time on English for Emerson.